My wife kept leaving the house. Every night at exactly 2:13 a.m. One night I finally followed her. For almost 3 months, my wife left our house every single night at exactly 2:13 a.m. Not 2:10, not 2:15, always 2:13. At first, I thought I was imagining it. I work from home, so my sleep schedule has never been great. Some nights, I'd wake up to use the bathroom and notice her side of the bed was empty. 20 minutes later, she'd quietly climb back in, acting as if she'd never left. When I asked where she'd gone, she always had an answer. I couldn't sleep. I went outside for some fresh air. I was checking on the neighbor's cat. None of it made much sense, especially because every morning I found mud on her shoes. One night, I pretended to be asleep. At exactly 2:13, she slowly got out of bed, grabbed her coat, and slipped out the front door. 5 seconds later, I followed. She never looked back. She walked 6 blocks without stopping before turning into an old cemetery on the edge of town. I froze. She wasn't carrying flowers. She wasn't visiting a grave. Instead, she walked to the oldest section of the cemetery and sat down on a stone bench. She just waited for nearly 15 minutes. Then an elderly man appeared from the darkness. They hugged. I couldn't hear everything they said, but I caught one sentence. "I'm running out of time." My stomach dropped. Every terrible possibility raced through my mind. Was she having an affair? Was this her real father? Who meets someone in a cemetery at 2 in the morning? The next night, I followed again. Same time, same bench, same man. This time I moved closer. I expected romance. Instead, I watched my wife hand him an envelope filled with cash. The old man immediately tried to give it back. She refused. He started crying. I had no idea what I was looking at. The following morning, I confronted her. She went completely pale. For a long time, she said nothing. Then she quietly asked, "Did you follow me?" I nodded. She sat down and began to cry. The truth was nothing like I'd imagined. When my wife was 16, she had been involved in a car accident that killed another teenager. She wasn't driving. The elderly man in the cemetery was. He had suffered a heart attack behind the wheel. He survived. The other girl didn't. The girl's parents wanted revenge and blamed everyone involved. The old man lost everything. His job, his home. His family stopped speaking to him. He had spent the last 15 years living alone in a tiny apartment, convinced he had ruined multiple lives. A year before I met my wife, she accidentally ran into him at a grocery store. He didn't even recognize her. She recognized him immediately. Instead of hating him, she forgave him. Since then, she's secretly been helping pay his rent, buying his groceries, and checking on him every week. "Why keep it from me?" I asked. She wiped away her tears. "Because I knew exactly what you'd think if you saw us together." She was right. I had already imagined the worst. I felt ashamed. A week later, she asked if I wanted to meet him properly. We brought dinner to his apartment. He was nothing like I'd pictured, just a lonely old man carrying more guilt than anyone should. Before we left, he handed my wife a small wooden box. Inside was a newspaper clipping from the accident. Folded beside it was a letter. "If you're reading this," it began, "then you've forgiven me longer than I've forgiven myself." The letter thanked her for giving him a reason to keep living. He wrote that every visit reminded him not everyone defined him by the worst day of his life. 3 days later, he passed away peacefully in his sleep. At his funeral, only 6 people attended. One of them was my wife. Another was me. On the drive home, I apologized for doubting her. She smiled sadly and squeezed my hand. "You know," she said, "trust isn't believing someone has no secrets. It's believing there's probably a good reason they were afraid to tell you." I still think about that sentence whenever I catch myself assuming the worst about someone. Sometimes the truth isn't darker than your imagination. Sometimes it's kinder.